Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Steven Hale from the Nashville scene, Joy Garrison from the TENNESSEAN. We're talking about metro politics, and particularly the upcoming special mayoral election. Guys, we talked about some of the numbers in one poll that were coming out from the Tennessee Star. And we're talking about some pretty low numbers, even for somebody in second place. But the key here is to hold, if anybody wants to beat Mayor Briley, they're probably going to have to hold him below 50%, because that would put them, if the second person, into a runoff with them. Yeah. You have to have 50% plus one vote to win in a metro election like this.
Yeah, and I just posted a story just sort of analyzing the implications of the transit vote on Briley's candidacy.
What is the transit vote sort of the X factor in all this?
You talk to his opponents, and their hope, I think even though they realize they're underdogs here, their hope is, the transit, Briley is the only major candidate in the race who supports the transit referendum. Their hope is that goes down wildly in defeat. It drags him down, and then they can compete. I talked to Ralph Bristol about it, for example, and his hope, he says, look, I know I'm not going to get first in the May 24th race, but I think that Briley will finish below 50%. I want to finish second, and then I want to face him one-on-one in the runoff, which would be June 28th. And, I think we would analyze that and say, hey, well, Briley would still probably be the favorite to win that, but that is sort of, if you're looking at it from one of these candidates, I think that's kind of the scenario that you're looking for.
Stephen, if Briley is forced into a runoff, is that going to be discerned either by the media, the public, and more importantly, perhaps somebody else who might want to run in 2019, as Briley has a weakness because he couldn't beat this field handily?
I think, yeah, probably the 2019 race would become interesting if that happens, because I agree with Joey. I mean, even in a runoff, we saw the situation in 2015 with Megan Barry and David Fox in a runoff, and Megan Barry won handily. So I think Briley would still be the overwhelming favorite, but it would be interesting to see what more serious candidates or more well-known candidates that might draw in 2019.
But the other fascinating thing is on this is this is so unprecedented to even to have an election start early voting 3 days after the May 1st ends. There's major questions about
it'll be hard to move the voting machines.
Yeah, whether voters are going to actually know this is going on. I mean, so many people are going to be confused about.
Have you had people? I've already had people confuse me as to which.
Why am I not being able to vote for the mayor's?
People think they're voting for mayor on May 1st, or they think they're there's been a lot of confusion.
I'm not sure when it is.
It's fascinating to look at the turnout of the transit referendum in this local primary election, but what about the turnout for the mayor's race, special election? We don't really have much of a history to look back at who might turn out for that one.
Now, what happens in terms of other candidates for 2019? It certainly appeared that Bill Freeman said he was not running this time, but a lot of the things in that press release he sent out certainly sounded like he was running very strongly for 2019.
I think guys like Bill Freeman, at-large Councilman John Cooper, who I think could have presented a real interesting candidate on sort of that anti-transit referendum kind of platform there if he had gotten in. Those two are two I would start looking at immediately, and so much of it depends on whether Briley has a good or bad year. If he loses transit, then has a lackluster performance in the mayor's race but still wins, then it really sets up maybe a challenger in 2019.
Well, let's argue it the other way. Let's say transit passes, then all of a sudden there's a whole field full of candidates in there who are against it. So then what do? And doesn't that really position Briley to do very well even in 2019?
I would think so. It certainly helps, yeah, because you have folks like Erica Gilmore and Harold Love are going to be in a position. They're going to have 3 weeks to convince people that they can sort of shepherd this transit plan into fruition after opposing it.
Yeah, I mean, the opponents are all in on the
on it failing.
And if it wins, Briley gets a huge boost.
The survey done by the city actually started under Mayor Barry that's been released under Mayor Briley. It shows a pretty happy city in terms of satisfaction with being in Nashville and the quality of life here and with the quality of services here. Again, it wasn't done to be a political poll per se, at least during an election, but here it comes right now in the middle of what's soon to be a mayor's race.
Yeah, actually I went to, Briley is doing this listening tour. And he kicked it off last night at Maplewood High School. I checked it out. They're discussing some of those findings. There are some findings in there that aren't as positive, I think, and they're happy to point out. They're happy to point out that transit is one of the things people are not thrilled about. Public education, I think there could be more improvement there. They acknowledge. Also, like sidewalks was another one. But yeah, I guess that, as you say, that was started under Barry. He's continuing to do it. He's doing a listening tour. Suggested yesterday that he's going to have maybe office hours in the mayor's office, likening it to Fulton. I think he said did something similar. So we'll see how that goes. But
the other thing I would just add is that, I think even though there are numbers like that showing people, large numbers of people happy with how the city is going, I do think there are pockets of the city who feel like they're being left behind even as the city is booming, and I think that could start to have a real effect on some of these elections, whether it's transit, mayor's race, and other things going down the line. I think they're going to start voting on that basis.
Steven Hale, thank you for joining us. Joey Garrison from TENNESSEAN, thank you as
Thanks
well.
for having us.
You guys are going to have plenty to write about in the next couple
No
weeks.
doubt about it. We have already. Yeah.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope to be back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's a new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye. Well, we didn't